Well, those two guys, they're always cutting each other down, and I don't like it.
What's the
I
point?
don't
It's mean.
when people.
It's mean comedy. I don't think that's funny.
I don't like that. But no, it's pretty good. It's really
Aren't
good.
they doing those? Aren't they trickling those out like one at a time instead of doing them so you
Well,
can binge on them?
here's what they did. Now this is what they did. They put the first three out together, and then they're going to roll them out one at a time on Tuesdays. Just like the North Carolina lottery, Tuesdays. Greatest
Tuesdays
campaign ever in the history.
Tuesdays with Maury, so it's about dead people.
Yeah. Or Tuesday's Child tonight on News 2. Here's another
Tuesday's Child. Here's another kid that can't get adopted for some reason or other. Won't you come and help?
I don't know about you, but yesterday seemed like another Sunday. It just felt like a second Sunday in a row. You really start to feel a bit of a nip in the air in the morning. All right.
Okay. Ready when you are.
I'm prepared.
Here we go.
Totally prepared.
Thank God.
It is the Brad and Britt cast. Brad and Britt cast number 1 for this week. Shortened week because of Labor Day. Thank you for joining us everywhere live on the visual platforms and in podcast form later on. See, I briefed it up. I think it's a better way to do it. All right.
It really is. That's good.
Yeah, it is. What do you got, or you want me to roll some things out onto the floor?
Roll some things out onto the floor as we salute the late Michael K. Williams of The Wire. Really a fantastic actor in his own right. A terrible loss at the age of 54.
Hey, I didn't watch everything that he ever did, but I did watch that show Boardwalk Empire.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He was unbelievable on that.
Yeah.
He was the nastiest. Yeah, it's almost like he was a mob boss type that could run for president. He was that bad. he was that much of a thug.
Well, we would never have a mob boss type who would be president. That would never happen in American history.
Couldn't happen. So I'm just fantasizing. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Spend it, baby. Spend it.
Spend it, baby. Spend it. Okay.
Yeah. Those damn blacks won't get the shot. It's their fault.
Oh God.
Online student must be vaccinated or else. Online student must be vaccinated or else. Or Fauci hates college football. Fauci hates America. They're all good. You can't lose.
Well, we have to start with those damn blacks, really. I think that's going to be our way to get entree into this thing. I have to start with that one.
Yeah. All right. Okay, that's the one, of course, I can't find quickly. So pick another one.
Okay, do the Fauci hates college football. Fauci hates America.
Yeah. I swear to you, Britt, it was easier to organize what we would talk about before I did everything on screens. I swear to you.
When you were using dead trees?
Right. It was easier to have a stack of papers. Now I have no papers in front of me. Now I just flit around on the 2 or 3 screens I have in front of me, and then
sure.
Which one did you want?
Dr. Fauci hates college football. Dr. Fauci hates America.
Oh, well, of course. And I don't know whether you were thinking about this if you were watching college football over the weekend. I know I certainly was. You would see stadiums filled with 60, 70, 80,000 people, screaming kids, none wearing masks. And you just have to say to yourself, that can't be a good thing. And it's not about, well, because it's outside, therefore no one can get it. Doesn't work that way. Doesn't quite work that way if you're next to people who are screaming and spilling out the virus. I mean, everybody was thinking that.
Well, you just hope. I mean, you just kind of hope against all hope that everything will be okay. You're just kind of hoping things will be all right, basically. And then that's all you can do.
And as you know, hope is a great medical strategy and a great strategy for continuing to deal with. Sorry. So, Dr. Fauci, Dr. Throw Shit in Your Face, Dr. No Good Time, went on TV and said it was a bad idea this weekend. He's officially joined in with us, says we could be stuck in an outbreak mode and you're going to see a lot more local mandates. And you can just feel this, Britt. You can just feel it. It's in slow motion this time because you have to add in the component of we're not going back to lockdowns. We're not going to close this economy. We're going to get our kids in school no matter what. And for some reason, for some stupid reason, the virus will not listen to us. The virus does not understand that we went through this a year ago. We closed our schools. We canceled every public event you can think. And we're not doing it again no matter what. And the problem with no matter what is that if you go with no matter what, you, of course, extend the pain. The pain will be extended here. And you cannot count on, well, look at India. Theirs went up and then it went down. Same in these. Yeah. And is that what our policy is now? No, it shouldn't be that. But I think that's what it is. That's my speech. Go ahead. Fauci said it this morning. He's on board with it.
Well, I'm certainly, when I saw the stuff in college football, and I love college football as much as anyone. And again, this is the line that's drawn. If you're a terrible communist and an awful bedwetting liberal, then you hate college football. And if you're a good rock rib conservative who loves America, then you love college football. And Dr. Fauci is attacking the very bedrock of this nation. Is that essentially what it comes down to?
Well, I'm just saying that for comedic purposes because it's obviously not true,
but a lot of people do believe that. I mean, there's a fair amount of folks
let them believe that, Britt. I don't really care what they believe because again, we cannot.
I know you continue to dismiss this stuff.
Well, wait.
I know you. I know you continue to dismiss this stuff. It's just fantasy, crazy stuff that exists on Fox. This is the shit that got 4 years of Donald Trump. You do understand that. This is what got us Lauren Boebert. This is what got us Kevin McCarthy. This is what got us the insurrection on January the 6th. That's all of this stuff is what got us. So it does come to reality. Go ahead.
But Britt, we cannot, and we will not continue to set our policy on the lowest common denominator, stupid morons. And that's what you're doing. When you fill up a stadium right now with 80,000 people, many of those people were not vaccinated. I guarantee that. That's just a lock, okay? We know that's true. And we have breakthrough cases even among people who are vaccinated if they're hanging around with the wrong crowd. I know that from personal experience in my own family. I have a son. He is 32. He's a smart guy, but he went out and he mingled at Red Rocks in Colorado, a beautiful 14,000 seat concert venue, and then partied with some people, and he got it. He's vaccinated, but he got it. And that's just anecdotal. But you know what? I guarantee you that a college football game is as bad or worse than that. Okay. I guarantee it. But remember, he was vaccinated. So he's coming out on the other side and he's doing fine now. But that's not going to be the case if you're unvaccinated. The people are still making that bet. And we're so much our own worst enemies. We are so much. It's like we're determined to keep extending this out. Anybody got any travel plans for the next couple months where you got to get on an airplane and maybe fly to the West Coast for some? You still going to go? You still sure you're going to go? Fuck no.
Speaking of which, now the new Gallup poll is out, and majorities of Americans now agree. You can't really see these numbers very well, that you should be vaccinated to travel by an airplane, stay in a hotel, attend an event with a large crowd, dine in a restaurant. This is a majority of the American people who now agree with vaccine mandates in this latest Gallup poll. And they do agree that you should have to do those things in order to go to work in an office. By a 56 to 44 margin, it's that to go to an office or a work site. To dine in a restaurant, it's 53 to 47. As far as events with large crowds, as we've been talking about, it's 58 to 42. And travel by airplane is the largest margin, 61 to 39. So it's not even it should be way larger margins, but the American people are coming around.
It's not even close to what it should be.
Exactly.
It's not close. That means we have a lot of people, those people you were talking about and throwing in my face as being the ones who have determined policy. And sadly, horribly, you're kind of right, and you shouldn't be right, but you are. But if we've got and the highest number of people saying that people need to be vaccinated to get on an airplane, and you've still got 30% of people not on board with that, and then it goes downhill from there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got again, it's that famous now 1/3 of the country apparently not thinking that vaccination is the way out of this. They just don't think that. The only positive thing I saw today was an infectious disease expert from San Francisco, one of the big universities out there, and she made a lot of sense that we really aren't factoring in. And this is not, and she's not a protege of Dr. Scott Atlas at all, not even close, just because it's Northern California. But that we're not factoring in the continuing to shrink number of unvaccinated people every day, because are we at about 1 million a day right now getting vaccinated?
That's right.
So that keeps ticking. And then when you add in the number of people who do bring some natural immunity to the table, that's not counted. So you're only getting this 50 some percent of the country is actually vaccinated, but you do have another who knows how many millions of people who, even if they aren't vaccinated, may have been exposed, may have had it, may have gotten over it, because there's a 40 million number of people of total cases, right? So most of those people didn't die. We have 670 or 650 million, 1,000 people that are dead. So most of the people didn't die. So most of those people do carry some form of immunity, and that the sad part of what she said was that we know that vaccination is what takes care of plagues and pandemics when it's available, or the vaccine, the virus does run out of new places to move to because of enough natural immunity, or as we more horribly call it, herd immunity. And that's what happened in 1919 when the Spanish flu died off. It wasn't because there was some vaccine, right? It was because so many people had gotten it, and that was it. It kind of just petered out. Well, we had the power in our hands. We've had it now all of 2021 to squash this thing and kill it off, or make it so that you just have a couple thousand new cases a day all across the country, spread out, and not so many people dying. And we didn't take that opportunity. I say the United States in total. So that's the tragedy of all. But she says that it really is going to happen at some point. It's just going to be a lot further out than we ever thought it was going to be. That's about as positive as you can get on this. Not very positive. And the rest of us sitting here with our vaccines, starting to, and I don't think we should be sweating out getting the third shot so much.
No,
I don't think that's the big sweat.
no.
I think the Biden administration may have jumped the gun a little bit on that. They got out ahead of themselves, and now you've got too many people saying, hold your horses and relax, and let's make sure. But then I can argue it the other way. What the fuck does Israel, what do these other countries know about the third shot that we don't? Exactly. Are we back to only American research on a specific subject counts for anything, and Israeli human beings, they don't matter? You do research on them, they're stupid. Because as you know, the Israelis are a stupid people with stupid doctors and stupid medicine. Well, that's not true.
Again, as we mark the 20th anniversary of 9/11, I seem to recall the smartest thing we ever could do is to treat our airports the way the Israelis treat their airports. That was the thing that they talked about doing 20 years ago, as you recall, which is super easy because, Israel is roughly the same size as the United States in terms of area and population. So we could easily do the same thing that the Israelis do at their airports.
I think that is one of the worst analogies you have ever done.
No,
hang on. Let me explain why you are wrong.
Let me explain why your attack is ridiculous, because they said we need to do exactly as this other country does with this in terms of their airport, but when it comes to this, we should not do it. Go ahead and now kill me.
Medical research has standards all around the world. Good countries abide by quality medical research, and that involves studies with usually tens of thousands of people or on the street results. And Israel certainly does that. They're an example of that. So that their medical research is quality. That has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that the size of the country is X. It's not relevant. It does not matter. 40,000 people in Israel are equal to 40,000 people in the United States if you were doing that kind of research. Hang on. Let me finish. Well,
you didn't let me finish before you killed me, but please, go ahead.
But wait a minute. Hang on. Airport security is completely different. And not only that, we didn't even come close.
Which is exactly what I was pointing out.
Because we can't do it. We can't do it.
That was the fallacy that I was pointing out. That was exactly the fallacy that I was pointing out in the argument that was made 20 years ago.
Right. And therefore, that argument carries no weight today, because we're talking about this is the ultimate apples and oranges discussion, Britt.
Exactly.
The medical research about this disease and the vaccine in populations, it doesn't matter where you're at. People are all the same. So
which was what I was illustrating.
We should learn from other countries and not just sit here and go, well, until we get the results, we could make some moves. We could do that.
I agree, which was what I was pointing out with the analogy, which was ridiculous to make back then, and now is ridiculous to make now. Here is Stephen A. Smith on the new First Take.
Again, it's not ridiculous to make now, but okay, we'll move on. It's not ridiculous to make now.
Yeah, it sounds like we're moving on. Stephen A. Smith has destroyed hypocritical pro athletes for taking supplements and refusing the vaccine. It is the biggest damn lie imaginable, he says on the new First Take, as he has kicked off Max Kellerman from that show. So, yeah, there are a lot of people who are getting it and understanding that there's a lot of hypocrisies going on in athletics, and particularly you were talking about college athletics and now pro athletics as well. Although the NFL seems to have come around with those vaccination rates for the most part. They were lagging for quite a bit, and then Ron Rivera pointed out to his team, the Washington football team, that they should probably get vaccinated, and they did. And the vaccination rates in the NFL did turn around.
Way to come around, big guy. Way to come around.
That's exactly right.
And by the way, I think I was actually talking about this yesterday with my wife about, these are football players who God knows what they've ever put into their bodies. They don't know what they put into their bodies, right? Like the Lyle Alzados and they don't know what the hell they put in there, right? But they're medical experts. They are biology superstars on the vaccine. But I think you don't have to go so far as to talk about steroidal. I think it's easier to go with the famous McNugget analogy. Nobody knows what's in a McNugget. What's the deal with those, said Jerry Seinfeld. Nobody knows what's in them. And you eat them all the time, NFL players. You don't question that. But you're an expert on biology, and you're afraid to take the the vaccine because it's not proven yet. The FDA, yes, well, the FDA approved it.
And then the goalposts were moved again. Well, a lot of the things the FDA has proven it's gone on to kill people, and they had to do that. Blah, blah, blah. Move the goalpost, move the goalpost, move the goalpost.
Well,
that is the game.
So this is the question: are there any NFL stadiums? Because we haven't had any regular season games yet. Are any NFL teams saying you have to be vaccinated to sit in the stands?
I would like to ring in at this point. What is Las Vegas? The Raiders are mandating the vaccine.
Okay, but wait a minute. How can you do that for the fans and have the performers unvaccinated? How does that work? Tell me that one.
Well, some of the people who are these performers who didn't take the vaccine, you might notice they're not making NFL rosters. So that is the market is deciding on some of that stuff. Some of those people are not making National Football League rosters. I believe the Raiders were the first. And I think in college football, the University of Oregon, and they had some signs or they had some pictures of the lines at U of O. You either had to show proof of vaccination or you had to get a negative COVID test within 48 hours or 72 hours of entering the stadium, and you had to show that. And I think some places are actually having COVID tests right there. You can get the rapid COVID test right there at the stadium.
God.
I know.
Remember when we thought the pat downs and the take the shit out of your pockets going into a stadium?
Again, the 9/11 analogies just continue to present themselves over and over again. There's the ageless one, Tom Brady, revealing he was diagnosed with COVID-19 shortly after the Super Bowl, after they were partying, having boat parades, screaming on each other, and having a good time. Tom Brady.
Right, but that's actually a perfect example.
It really is.
You don't hear Tom Brady. I didn't hear him say, accompanying the fact that he got COVID, as saying, "Well, I didn't care that I got it because I'm healthy." Only an idiot would say that. Only an idiot would say, "Gee, I don't mind getting it because I was healthy," and he probably was not vaccinated at that point, right? Early in February, probably.
Oh
not.
no, he wasn't. I'm sure.
Yeah,
Some smart ass put the story because they do have 100% vaccination rate for the defending world champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and there's something like he won't eat a tomato. There's something like because he doesn't like tomatoes. When I was a kid, I didn't like tomatoes and wouldn't eat them.
Me too.
And the headline was
and I like Tom Brady.
When Tom Brady took the vaccine, but he won't eat a tomato. That was like the smart ass headline on the Daily Beast or something like that, as if that proves anything. He'll take this vaccine, but he won't eat a tomato. Oh, fuck you for that.
Could you put in like Brussels sprouts? A lot of people don't like those either, but they do take the vaccine. So
your McNugget thing is right. And hot dogs. Nobody knows what's in a fucking hot dog. People eat millions of hot dogs every day. I mean, there's rodent hair.
I want you to.
There's all that shit.
I want you to know that hot dog I ate. We went to the minor league baseball game Friday night. The Greensboro Bats, Grasshoppers, Hornets, whatever they're called. I don't remember. They change their name more often than Cher. Okay, it's
I think they've had this current nickname about 16 years. But please go ahead.
That hot dog that was the first hot dog I've eaten. I'll bet in about 3 years. It really was. But I just felt like, that's the last game of the season we're going to be at. It's a nice night, and I'm with friends. Everybody's vaccinated. I think we should talk about the little conversation we had with the row in front of us.
That was
because there was
I wasn't privy to this. I was down away from you and couldn't hear what you were saying.
You were a couple of seats down. So there's these three people sitting in front of us. Okay. And I'm surrounded by two folks who I just met. Very, very nice people. Doesn't matter their names. One is a professor at High Point University. The other is a radio engineer. And the three people sitting in front of us, that's a nice looking family with what looks to be like their son, who looks like he's in his 20s, maybe 30 years old. Nice people. And the mother is wearing a flag shirt, stars on the front, stripes on the back. All right. So I said to one of my seatmates, I said, "What are the chances that these people are vaccinated, especially her?" And I pointed at her, the kind of the
Yeah.
kind of outfit that you would see at a Sean Hannity rally. Okay. And she said, there's no way they're vaccinated. There's no way. Now, when you're at an outdoor stadium, this actually goes back to the whole college football thing we were just talking about a few minutes ago. Even at this baseball stadium, the rows are pretty close to each other. You're probably less than 2 feet from the face of another person. You're not facing them, but they're only maybe 2 feet in front of you at most. And so one of them turned around and just started talking to us very, very nicely, not about anything of importance. I think it was about baseball. And I said, would you mind if I asked you if you are vaccinated? What do you think of that?
That's an obnoxious.
I said, would you mind?
What are you supposed to? How do you answer that? Yes, I would mind if you asked me.
Right. Hang on. If you're a politician, okay. If you're LeBron, how did LeBron James answer that? Are you vaccinated? Because apparently, if
it's a personal decision, it's a personal decision or some shit like that, some bullshit.
Right. So only an ass would answer that way. So I did a degree of separation from the question. I asked whether it was legitimate to even ask, and the lady with the flag shirt on turned around and said, "Absolutely, we're definitely all vaccinated. We're all vaccinated."
Oh, that's good.
And so from the you can't always tell what people look like or what they're wearing. That's clearly true. But then I thought to myself, and I said to them, I said to everyone, I said, what are the chances that there are a lot of people here tonight? Because how many masks did you see in the crowd? Very few.
Not that
very
many.
few.
No.
I said, what are the chances that people are going out at this moment unvaccinated into crowds like this? And then I said, hold it, self, stop asking stupid questions. Of course people are doing that. We know people are doing that. We know people want to proclaim their freedom to do exactly what you elite vaccinated people are doing. Lording your vaccination status over the rest of us. But I'm glad they were. That's all I can say. I'm really glad they were. I would have felt a little queasy. Wouldn't you have felt a little bit queasy if you knew that the 3 people right in front of us?
I would feel. I wouldn't feel great about it. I would feel great.
I have a vaccination story number 4.
Ready.
And this is from New Jersey.
Hello.
And I labeled this one as too stupid to talk about.
Yeah.
At first, but then I thought about it a little bit more. So we have this guy named Logan Holler, Hollar, age 22. He goes to Rutgers, but he is not attending classes in person. He's doing online only. And Rutgers says, too bad, you're not vaccinated. You're out of here, even though he isn't physically on campus. They are banning him from taking online classes, and he's not vaccinated. And at first, when you hear that, you go, oh, tee that one up for Fox News. That's how crazy they are. That's how nuts. That's how overreactive, right? Oh my God. The control freaks, right there he is. There's another version of the story we've got up on our screen. He's being stopped from taking virtual classes because he's not vaccinated. And at first, it's easy to say, well, what the fuck is wrong with Rutgers? Okay. He doesn't threaten anybody. He's just on the other end of a computer. And then I did a little bit of Brad thinking, which again, that's not a lot of thinking, but I thought about that case from last June, the one where the girl wrote, fuck this class, fuck this school, you suck. And she did it on Snapchat and she did it off campus. Okay. And the school tried to suspend her and kick her out. And she got a Supreme Court case heard over that particular offense, supposedly, and the Supreme Court ruled 8-1 that the school had no right to come down on her for her personal speech off campus that had nothing to do with the school. And again, here we go. Does that apply here also? Because if you're going to say you can't impede somebody's speech, then supposedly you can't impede somebody's ability to sit at the end of a computer off campus, right? And right. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. This is different. This is a public health issue. And if a college acts in a loco parentis, in place of parents and things of that sort, they kind of have the right to set the rules for all kinds of behavior, and in particular, where you can infect other people. Just because you're not physically on campus, if you're unvaccinated, you're a danger to society. So Rutgers is saying, we're going to draw the line right here and go get vaccinated, and you can take all the online classes that you want. Now, that may be a stretch. Maybe this is just as simple as it appears. But when you hear this guy's father, then you go, holy shit. Here's his father, whose name is Keith. I believe in science. I believe in vaccines, but I'm highly confident that COVID-19 and variants don't travel through computer monitors, taking online classes. He chose to remove himself from on-campus experience so he would not need to get vaccinated. See, there's the flaw. He does need to get vaccinated. Everybody needs to get vaccinated. And here's what Logan, this 22-year-old idiot, says. If someone wants to be vaccinated, that's fine with me, but I don't think they should be pushed. He doesn't find COVID to be very scary because, quote, I'm healthy and I'm not in an at-risk age group. Right. Okay, he's a moron. He's an idiot. Okay, I say good for Rutgers. This is about coercion, and we need coercion in this country. And if it means you can't, you know what? Go attend Southern New Hampshire University. You see the commercials on TV. They're waiting for you. Go pay them $60,000 to get a shit degree. You got Rutgers here, good school, and you're going to fuck it up because you won't get vaccinated. I say, fuck. That's my answer to that. What do you think?
I think that's a solid answer. Did you ever find any of the other stories in your stack of stuff, including that one about the remote thing? Did you find the one about the blacks, as you put it?
Oh, yeah, here we go. Here it is. It was actually, of course, right in front of me time, and I didn't see it. That's the problem with doing everything off the screen. There's and I'm guilty of what I say when you do it. We shouldn't do this. Why do we react when one idiot says something and then they do a story about it? Okay. So I plead guilty. Okay. I plead completely guilty of this, but this is somebody that I see occasionally when I'm crossing channels, and I see her on the Fox shows on business and regular. Her name is Liz Peek, P-E-E-K. And she is blaming Joe Biden and the blacks for the low vaccination rate in the United States. She said this today, Tuesday. And here's her quote. Ready? This situation wouldn't even exist if Joe Biden had brought the country together as he promised. Feel free to jump in at any point and just kill this. Feel free.
He tried so hard.
He promised to bring the country together to do in a common single cause of getting everybody vaccinated. I think this is part of a bigger story, which is the failure of the presidents to get Americans to take the shot. How dare you, bitch, go on Fox and pretend for 1 second that Joe Biden has been the barrier to your people and people that follow people like you and people who are on that channel like you, who have cast doubt on this vaccine all the way through while all of you are fucking vaccinated. And you try to turn this around. Fuck you. God damn it, I'm mad. I'm mad. And here we go. She says that only 62% of American adults have been vaccinated compared to 70% of Europeans who have taken the shot. Now, back to the Israeli-American analogy where I went like crazy on you like a nut. I'm sorry for that.
No, you're not.
Well, she's comparing us to Europe. Well, wait a minute. Why are you comparing us to Europe? I thought we don't pay attention to anything that's done in Europe. Apparently, they're smarter than we are on this, Miss Liz Peek. That's an embarrassment.
But isn't that sort of a dog whistle? Isn't like Europeans? Isn't like that stands the code for white people? The good white people are smart enough to go ahead and get vaccinated. But I don't know about you other guys. I'm not sure about you other people, because that's kind of what's at that. That's the thin veneer of all of this.
I can't deny that it's always at the basis of everything. She says this hardens attitudes when you start pointing fingers at Republicans, saying, "Oh, it's these loony right wingers who are refusing to take the shot," and not acknowledging that there are a lot of people, including a lot of African Americans, who've been resistant and doubtful of these vaccines. I really put this on the White House. Okay, here are the statistics, Miss Liz Peek.
This is the White House's fault. This is definitely Biden's fault. No question. Go ahead.
Kaiser Family Foundation. 4 times as many Republicans as black people in the ranks of the unvaccinated. Get that? 4 times as many Republicans as black people, assuming very few of them are Republicans. And even a higher proportion of Republicans among those who say they're just never going to get vaccinated. So this is ignorance, racism, bad science. It's all wrapped up into one little story, which is why I thought it was worth bringing up. But again, if Britt, you don't live in this world, I don't live in this world either. I just bump into it every once in a while, and this is what they're being fed, and this is what they believe.
This is but I find this to be quite a real pernicious kind of a stair step when it comes to whataboutism. Like, oh, we'll get our shit together when those black people. You get those black folks to get their act together, and we'll talk about us getting their act together. And this,
of course,
this comes in a variety of different flavors. You when we talked about the police killing black people at a rate much higher than they do the rest of the rest of society, the rest of other ethnic groups. You would hear some folks like saying, well, what about black on black crime? Why don't they get their act together on that before we start looking at this police thing? You would hear that constantly, right?
Right. Well, okay. I'll take it even farther from the fully racist point of view. You ready? Right. Hey, white people, we thought you were smarter than the blacks, and you'd all be vaccinated like the Europeans, who are mostly whiter than us. How come you don't? What's up with that? How about that? You like that one? I can say that because we're on a podcast.
I'm not saying it's. I'm not saying
it's not true, but it's there.
I'm not saying it's helpful, and I'm not saying it shouldn't be dropped. And there are a lot of people who are trying to drop it. But if African Americans have some deep suspicions of medical science, you can see how that happened over the course of 60, 80, 100 years. There were certain things that happened. Now, should that be kept alive today? No, it shouldn't. And there are a lot of people, shall I say, in the African American community who are working and saying, hey, we need to take this vaccine. You've seen a lot of people who are trying to do various things, and they're doing stuff at churches and taking bus trips and just trying to vaccinate folks. But you can understand how a deeply held mistrust of medical science might have been engendered in the African American community over time.
Well, of course, we know that's history. That was then, this is now. And
right.
In fact, that one of the main scientists, one of the lead scientists, you may have seen her. She does appear on shows. She's great. She's wonderful. She is a black woman who helped develop this vaccine. Okay,
100%.
So, if we really need to get past that.
Yes.
As far as the racial issue, but to bring that up in this context, in the famous whataboutism, is unbelievable. All right, I got one more. I got one more for you.
All right.
And the headline here was, who are the 2 biggest idiots who are graduates of Harvard and Yale breathing right now? Who are the answer is Ron DeSantis and J.D. Vance.
And those are good calls.
Pick one.
J.D. Vance is let's do J.D. Vance because we haven't talked about him a lot on the show. Of course, he was the author of Hillbilly Elegies. He's running for the United States Senate from the great state of Ohio. Tell us what J.D. Vance has done recently, Brad.
Well, now remember, J.D. Vance is vying for the Republican nomination.
Yeah.
Okay, which obviously is a lot different than he's the nominee and he's running.
Correct.
Of course, you have to go to the lowest common denominator, mouth breathing, stupid pro-Trump bullshit to get a nomination for the U.S. Senate in a state that sadly was my home, but fell off the cliff several years ago and it's become a red state for some reason, for the most part. I don't know what the hell happened to Ohio. It's embarrassing. It really is. It really is. It was not that way, but it is now. So he specializes in sending out really obnoxious tweets. He thinks that's a cool thing. Does that remind you of anyone? Does that ring a bell? Sending
I can't
out
think of anyone who ever did
provocatively
that.
obnoxious.
No.
Right. Okay. So he sent one out the other day that said that Alex Jones is a far more reputable source of information, particularly on the virus vaccines and ivermectin, than Rachel Maddow is of NBC, MSNBC. And of course, that's not true. And Alex Jones apparently has been taking it live on the air to prove that it works or that it doesn't kill you, which is a great thing. It's a wonderful thing. I hope it does kill him.
Me too. Live on the air. Please, live on the air. Let him just
not.
croak.
And he may be referring to Rachel Maddow did a deep dive down into ivermectin last week. One of her 35-minute, completely dissembling the bullshit, which of course, as you know, was all true. that show is so heavily researched. It's right. It's not even funny. It's not even funny.
Exactly.
So
no, they do a great job.
But that doesn't matter to JD Vance, right?
No.
Who's he trying to get to vote for him in the primary in the Ohio Senate race? Guess what? Not watchers of MSNBC and not Rachel Maddow.
Mouth breathers up in Wapakoneta. That's who he's trying to get to vote for him, right?
Britt, we call it WAPA. Okay, we call it WAPA. Yeah.
He's trying to get mouth breathers up in Sydney, Ohio to vote for him. That's who he wants.
Right. So taking up the fight against JD Vance is now current Ohio resident, apparently, Geraldo Rivera. Does he live in Cleveland doing that radio show?
Yeah, I think he does. I think he actually is a resident. I think he moved there a couple of years ago to be on the big one, WTAM.
Yeah. So off we go, and this is what's going on. This is what's going on. All right, over to DeSantis. And by the way, I wrote some numbers down on my little white sheet of paper here before we started. I want to make sure we have this right. The number of military casualties, deaths in Afghanistan for the 20 years was 2448.
Yeah.
The number of contractors, U.S. contractors, people making money off the war in Afghanistan, was way bigger than that. 3,846. Okay, so 1.5 times more contractors than member. That did you know that? And who knows that? That's an astounding number, isn't it?
That's a very important number too.
That's a really astounding number. But and then in between those two are the number of people that died in New York on 9/11. And I don't know whether this is just New York or the three added together, but it's close because I think what he had like 140 at the Pentagon and 50 on the airplane. So that's 2977. Okay, so those are your numbers. Ready? 2448 military, 2977 9/11. Contractors 3846. In the month of August in Florida, 6,600 people died of COVID. Okay.
Say that again and then repeat that, because I think that needs to be repeated just so you can try to absorb that number.
Right. 6,600. In other words, almost the same number of people died just in Florida in just 1 month, the one that just passed, as the total number of people that died from our military, from U.S. contractors, and then the number of people that died on 9/11. It's a little bit higher, but not much.
It's too.
So it's probably, if you add in another week, the last 5 weeks in Florida, it's a higher number than that. So here comes Ron DeSantis, and he's getting whacked as he should every day by the Miami Herald for what has to be. And remember, J.D. Vance went to Yale Law School, and Ron DeSantis went to Harvard. I don't know if he has a law degree or went there undergrad, but these are Harvard and Yale people. And about 5 days ago, here's what DeSantis said. Somebody asked him about vaccination again. Okay. And keeping in mind that DeSantis is of this group of politicians like Greg Abbott and Trump and even the people on Fox, where one time over a 2 or 3 month period, they will say you should get vaccinated. But then they spend the other 99.9% of their time casting doubt and playing the game and screaming freedom and that kind of shit. He's one of those, right? We know that. So back in July, he said, these vaccines are saving lives. Well, okay, you know what? And the sun is coming up today. So that doesn't tell you anything.
Yeah, it's platitudes. It means nothing, right? It's shibboleth.
Right, it's platitudes. Okay. Then last week on September 3rd, right, that's Friday, here's what he said about vaccination. It's about your health, and whether you want that protection or not, it really doesn't impact me or anyone else. Does it get any worse than that? Does it get any more selfish than that? Does it get any more ignorant than that?
No. Oh, I have an update, by the way. He's double worse than you thought when it comes to the Harvard-Yale connection. Ron DeSantis, BA, Yale, JD, Harvard. So he gets a double dose of that. There you go. So, yeah, and now, of course, DeSantis is getting whacked by Dr. Fauci, saying that was a ridiculous statement to make, that it's not about you, it's about other people around you. And if you think that, you have not learned the lessons of history when it comes to vaccines, not only in this country, but around the world. So he's being called completely incorrect for that statement.
Yeah, I love Dr. Fauci, but he even got too technical there. You don't have to learn any lessons of anything to know what getting a vaccine means in terms of not just your health, but those people around you and people in your community and people at the baseball stadium that you're sitting at and people at the religious service that you so want to go to and people who may be on that airplane that you want to fly on or in that restaurant you want to eat at. To pander to the lowest, this is beneath the lowest common denominator, to couch this in the dumbest terms possible, that this doesn't affect anybody. I'll tell you what, I tried to plug that in on seatbelts, and you can almost get away with saying about seatbelts, it's about your health, and whether you want that protection or not, it really doesn't impact me, other people, or anyone else. Yeah, technically that's true. But guess what? You're still a fucking moron if you don't wear a seatbelt, and it does affect other people in this way. Your wife will be a widow when you get killed in that accident because you weren't wearing a seatbelt. Or if you get taken to the hospital, the ability of medicine to fix you is way more expensive and more technical because you weren't wearing a seatbelt. So it doesn't even apply there. So I'm sorry.
No, it doesn't. It does affect other people, like the EMTs that might have to scrape your body off the pavement because you got launched 20 feet from your car because you were too stupid to wear a seatbelt.
The only difference is, of course, is that you not wearing a seatbelt is not a communicable disease. Okay.
But you made a great point when you talked about religious services, because a lot of these people that would subscribe to conservatism and the Ron DeSantis mantra, they used to be identifying with being Christians. And a lot of times it was evangelical Christians. And evangelical Christianity is supposed to be everything but me. It's supposed to be everything but all about me. It's supposed to be, how can I help everybody? How can I help my neighbor? How can I help this person, that person? And now it's been reduced to, it's all about me and fuck you. That's essentially the Ron DeSantis mantra, and that's why he's dying in Florida right now as far as his approval rating. And people are literally dying in Florida at the rate of 200 some odd a day.
Yeah. I think that's a good campaign slogan for him. It's what I say or fuck you. What did you just say?
It used to be about how can I help you, and now it's all fuck you. I'm okay. Go fuck yourself. Basically, is the Ron DeSantis campaign, which, by the way, could get him in the White House in 2024. I don't know. That might be the way to go.
You know, I'm feeling better and better about the fact that that's not the way.
Yeah, I don't see that happening now. But as you say, anything can happen.
Right. If Afghanistan is going to be hanging around for a while, I can guarantee you COVID is.
You got that right.
It really, really is. All right.
That'll
fun
do it for
time
us
today. Did we leave anything on the table today besides this sheet of paper?
Well, they said, they had some of the reruns of Alex Trebek over the weekend on Jeopardy. It really made me very sad. Very sad. I wish he was back.
Were they recent or were they really old? Were they older ones?
They were like ones from, I think, last year.
Oh,
It's very sad, but they did such a good job with the whole replacement thing on him. I think it's going to be seamless.
I just wanted to think about this.
Yeah.
Think about this. And this is not the political part of it. A Supreme Court justice dies, they name somebody to replace that Supreme Court justice, and you get on with it. Okay,
right?
You just get on with it. There are lots of things that get replaced. It just has to be that way, right? If your dog dies, very often you wait a few weeks and you get a new one. People do that all the time. Apparently, with a Jeopardy host, the most difficult,
it's the hardest
thing to ever do. And you got to give Trebek some credit here. He has now pushed Johnny Carson down one notch.
It is
on
weird.
The what are we going to do when he retires list in show business, right?
Yeah, it's the oddest thing,
right? Because you think what you want. They did name Jay Leno, and just Jay Leno came on and did the damn show,
right?
He just did, but not with Jeopardy. Now here's another. What happens when Pat Sajak throws it in? Is he as beloved as Trebek? Do we know that?
I don't.
Have they thought? And let me ask: if you ran that show, and remember that's the same ownership, it's the same company, right?
Same producers,
it's all the same.
Everything.
Same producers. Do you think they're at least smart enough right now to have a succession plan in place, to have a vice president, secretary, a speaker of the House kind of succession like we have in the Constitution if the president gets killed?
They should roll out some guest hosts, to try to just start right now. But then, it would be like it would be too obvious.
Can't do that because
it'd be too obvious.
Because
they would think, the buzzards are circling. You can't. That would be. They would do it. But if you're Sajak, you've got more money than Davy Crockett, as Forrest Gump said. And if they start throwing a guy,
we're not worried about his money.
If somebody comes along and does a couple of guest shots, it's not going to be like, I guess they're smelling the stench on my body. No, it's fine. They're just going to try to, you're in a public trust. That's what you're doing, Brad. It's a public trust.
How about this? How about getting him in on it? He should be in on it.
Sure.
And then that way you have a smooth transition, and it happens without any drama. How could they not be planning ahead?
It's a double. I mean, if Vanna drops dead tomorrow, what do we do? Who's going to turn the letters? Right. I mean, there's got to be a whole thing.
That's irreplaceable.
You just stop the show. The show just stops immediately.
Yeah. She can't be replaced. There's no one that has the command of spelling in the English language.
It's a very narrow skill set, and she mastered it. She got
it. She's got. Where's she from? She's like from North Myrtle Beach, right?
North Myrtle Beach. Yeah. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
We'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Bye.